really what prompted me to write the first edition of the book was when the whole conversation started maybe around 2010 or 11. Women can have it all, women can't have it all, as though there's one universal it all for all women. And I realized that the thrust of that discussion was every woman had to be a C-suite, a chief marketing officer, a CEO, something to be successful. And that's not every woman. And I wanted to help women figure out, what's your all? How do you define success? And then how do you go get it? So that was the reason that I wrote the book. And I wrote it out of my own experience because I needed to actually write for myself first, which most writers do, and then send the message out to other women that it's okay to define your own success and then to learn how to go get it.
Mm-hmm. Oftentimes what we think we want, and as you suggested, you went after two different role models. You can't do it all, realizing that, trying to fill the shoes of two different people. What tools did you use to help define who you are, and how do you dwindle that down to what makes you feel good, both inside and outside, and as well as feeling successful?
Well, the first thing is, and this is actually the first part of my book, is to recognize your everything to everybody behaviors. When do you feel like you're just going to explode? And then to figure out, more than when am I happy, it's how do I define my well-being? And Martin Seligman, who's the father of positive psychology, said there are multiple components of well-being. One is positive emotion, which is happiness. And that's like when you see an old friend or you hear an old song that reminds you of some great time in your past. Another is accomplishment, and the process might not make you happy, but the end result does. Maybe you want to lose weight and you don't like the diet, but you love the way you feel and look at the end of the diet.
Mm-hmm.
Another is meaning, which actually is like sociologists say give you the most well-being, and that's when you get outside yourself to help others. So there are other multiple components. There's positive relationships. Those people you could call at 2 a.m. and they won't hang up on you, but they'll listen to your issue.
Uh-huh.
There's that the engagement part of your life, when it's what athletes call being in the zone, when you're so engaged in what you're doing that time doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take some time to figure out in each of those categories, what gives me my most well-being, you start to think about the most critical part of this process, and that is defining your own core. And look, your own personal core is what's your personal mission, what's your personal vision, and what are your key 3 to 5 core values. So the way I often like to think about it is, if you think about your core as a person, your mission is your head. It's your logical, rational reason that you're here, not just in your work life, but in your total life. What's your purpose?
Yeah.
And then think about your vision as the heart of a person. If I'm working my mission on all cylinders, what could I be at my best? What would I want people to say about me? And then the last are the values, which are the arms and legs. They put your mission and vision into action, and it's the 3 to 5 key values. So, for example, my 3 key values are integrity, health, and family. And I make all my decisions based on those values. So when I was working for that Fortune company, for example,
mm-hmm.
and my division was sold, and I was asked to come down to corporate, I knew if I did that, because my division wasn't at corporate, I had a lot of flexibility. I wouldn't have flexibility to go to my boys' softball games, their basketball games, and I wanted the flexibility to be a part of their lives, and I knew I wouldn't if I went into corporate. So I had to say thank you, but no thank you. And one of the things I teach my clients, my coaching clients, is with every choice, there's a trade-off. And you have to be aware of the choice you're making purposefully and the trade-offs that come with it. And so I traded off that steady paycheck to have the flexibility to be around my family more.
Yeah.
We have to think through our values and what that means in our actual life.
I think that that's such an incredible lesson that I also try to teach with people I'm working with, because it's often overlooked. We put it in the terms of being self-aware of what's important to you, right? I think society often says, you should have your goals in your life written down and chase after them. And I do agree with having goals. But I learned recently how important being self-aware are, as you suggested, what are your value points? Because once you understand that, then you can apply those to your goals, and then you can apply them to what you're doing and where you're going. And I think so many people are not aware of what's important to them. And as you suggested, though, there's a trade-off. You trade off making a little bit more money, or as you said, the C-suite. And when you look back, maybe you sacrificed a lot of personal time with your family or friends, or maybe doing something that's more rewarding to you. And I just love that that's part of your program.
It is, and you're right on. It's such an important part, because if you don't know your personal core and who you are and what's important to you, then you tend to acquiesce to other people's demands. Mm-hmm. And you never really understand what's important to you. And, the core never changes, your mission, your vision, your values. But your priorities might, depending upon what chapter you are in your life. So you're constantly thinking through and making decisions based on that North Star, based on that core. And so you tend to live the right life. And I'll never forget reading an article by a hospice nurse. And she said the one thing that her hospice patients wanted to know was that they lived the right life. Mm-hmm. And so rather than waiting to get to the end of your life to ask that question, did I live the right life? If you define your personal core and you take action to get it, and the key aha most of my coaching clients get is they see how misaligned their time is with what they say is important to them.
Yeah.
And so we work hard to realign that time, and it takes time to do that. It can't be hard on yourself, because there's always tension between the current and the ideal. And you realign your time, and you work at realigning your time so that you are living the right life and doing what's important to you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just filled with questions for you. So, just to go back for a second to also your discussion about, helping others and, having that desire as humans to just, help, offer, and not leave time for ourselves. I read an interesting thing that they call the Ben Franklin effect, where you help somebody and then you have this personal obligation to continue to help them. It's obviously for the person you're helping, it's a great reward for them. But, how do we get out of that cycle? Because there's a lot of, you have friends and family and they have their needs. And I think oftentimes we find ourselves wanting to be those helpers and we forget about ourselves. How do you get people out of that cycle?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things I had to learn myself that I teach to every woman I come in contact with that wants to listen is I tell them that no is a complete sentence. And so we just want to keep saying yes when our head's screaming no. We have so much on our plate, we can't take one more thing. But in our heads, we're saying, well, at work they won't think I'm a team player if I say no. Or my friend won't like me anymore if I say no. Mm-hmm. And so, I think we need to understand that if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be good long-term for anybody else. And in the book, I interviewed 13 different women about each of their all. And they come from different places in life. Some are entrepreneurs, some are corporate, some are high up, some are not. And the one thing that they all said was, when I don't say no, me time goes first.
Mm-hmm.
The time that I set aside for me, it could be my workout time, it could be my de-stress time, and that's when I get overwhelmed and overloaded.
It's almost to suggest as you're helping somebody and they have that problem of saying yes too often, maybe they analyze the things that they lose first, whether it's their me time or their family time, their kid time, their husband time, etc., because they are sacrificing something when they say yes too often.
Yeah, and it's typically their me time, and sometimes it's sleep, because they've got so much to do. It's just always thinking of others and not thinking, if I don't take care of myself, I can't be good for other people. And so that's really critical to learn to say no, so that you're not always acquiescing to other people's demands.
Yeah.
And, there was a professor that did that experiment a long time ago. We had the bell jar and sand and pebbles and rocks. And he showed that for example, when you turn on your cell phone in the morning, and it's all the things that other people want from you, that's the sand. So that tends to catch your attention and get done first. And then you've got some important things that you have to do, but they're not urgent, but you tend to do those pebble things next. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the big rocks, which are your priorities for the day, they don't fit in the jar because you filled it with everything else that are important to other people. And so that's the other thing. It's important that at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, before you turn on your phone, do anything, you know what you want to accomplish in your day, and you do those first. Then you drop in the important pebbles, and then maybe you get to all the sand, and maybe not. But so what? It's not important.
Right. Tell us a little bit more about the book, about having your all instead of having it all.
Okay. So as I mentioned, it talks a lot about how women got to where we are today. From the very, when I start arbitrary, let's say at World War II, where women filled men's jobs and realized they liked working out of the home, but men came back and women were sent home, to today, women are doing dishes and diapers and $1 million deals. And we've gotten ourselves into this crazy frenzy, juggling everything to everybody roles. So how do we really figure our all out? And like I said, it starts with understanding your everything to everybody behaviors, what's keeping you on that hamster wheel. And then developing your own personal core, mission, vision, and values. And it's not a one-time event. It takes time to get it right. It has to be memorable. So, my mission is to help other people learn as I continue my own learning. And if you ask my husband, my sons, my coaching clients, my corporate clients, they'll all tell you that's what I'm about. And that's why I loved consulting so much, because I got to continue my own learning in different environments, which was wonderful. And my vision is that I want people to see me as a guide that helped them down unforged paths, always showing them how much they can be. And that's true for, again, my family or my work world or my friends. If people said that about me, then I've lived the right life. And then I've already mentioned my 3 values of family, integrity, and health. So you got to get clear on that. And then once you get clear on that, it's okay, great. How do I get it? And so one is, as I mentioned, aligning your time with what you say is important. And then I provide tools to help you go get it. So one is developing a personal support system. And it doesn't matter whether you're married, have children, young, single, whatever. You still need a support system to help you in all your multiple roles. I talk about a professional support system, specifically delegation. and women are not really terrific at delegating. And